What if I told you that beneath every confident, self-assured woman lies a fantasy so taboo she can't even say it out loud? Not because she's ashamed of wanting it, but because she's afraid of being misunderstood. This is her darkest desire, to be overpowered, not with force, but with presence. To be led, not controlled, but guided by a man so sure of himself, her resistance turns into surrender. Here's the truth. What women crave isn't danger, the illusion of danger wrapped in trust. The edge, the tension, the feeling of being taken by someone who knows exactly what he's doing. Right now, most men play it safe. They're too careful, too agreeable, but the rare ones, they learn to walk that razor-thin line between strength and sensitivity. And that's where she opens up. If you're ready to understand the part of her no one talks about, like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment. I lead with strength and safety. Number 1. When she rejects, but doesn't let go, the Stoic way to handle 6 signals. Most men fall apart when rejected but still feel her lingering interest. One day she turns cold, the next she watches your stories, sends a vague text, or reacts with jealousy when you pull back. It's not just confusion, it's a test. She wants to know, can you hold your ground without her approval? The man who passes isn't the one who argues, chases, or explains. It's the one who vanishes with composure, whose silence says, I don't need you to validate. The mistake most men make is thinking rejection means she's gone forever, so they scramble to fix it. Long texts, deep confessions, chasing closure. But from a Stoic lens, this is emotional weakness disguised as love. Her no isn't always final, it's a pressure point. How you respond determines your value. You can be a momentary thrill, or you can be the regret she replays at 2 a.m. The choice is yours, and it begins with stillness. First, cut emotional access. That doesn't mean ghosting with resentment. It means reclaiming your focus. Stop rewarding ambiguity with attention. No long responses, no emojis seeking reaction. You become scarce, and in scarcity, value is born. Then comes your greatest power, unpredictability. You don't explain, you don't seek clarity, you don't feed her ego with reactive behavior. You let her wonder, and that wonder becomes obsession. Most men think women are drawn to effort. In truth, they're drawn to presence and withdrawal. It's not game-taking, it's power. Power is not in how much you say, but in what you withhold. In silence, she questions. In your absence, she feels her own. And when she texts, you don't leap, you lean back. If she left, let her be the one to return. Not to a boy begging, but to a man rebuilt. Stoic love isn't passive, it's precise. It's knowing when to act and when to let the universe unfold. If she regrets leaving you, let it be, because your self-respect spoke louder than any message you could have sent. Comment below, I don't chase, I choose. Number 2. Why silence after rejection isn't weakness, it's power reclaimed. Silence is misunderstood. Most men see it as passivity, as if doing nothing means surrender, but Stoicism teaches the opposite. Silence is not the absence of action, it is the presence of strength. Especially after rejection, when emotions scream and pride bleeds, silence becomes your greatest weapon. It says, you no longer have access to my energy, and that alone can turn the entire dynamic on its head. Women don't test your feelings, they test your center. When she pulls away, delays replies, or says, let's just be friends, she's watching how you hold yourself. If you beg, explain, or try to change her mind, you tell her you don't have one of your own. But if you go quiet, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect, she begins to question the very rejection she thought was final. That's the paradox. The man who says nothing often speaks the loudest. Imagine this. She expects a reaction, a message, an apology, a last attempt. But instead, there's nothing. Days pass, weeks. You don't watch her stories. You don't like her posts. You don't reach out. She tells herself it's fine, but something gnaws at her. Why isn't he trying? That silence becomes a mirror. It forces her to face the truth. She lost access to something rare. A man who doesn't beg. A man who doesn't need her approval to stand tall. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop showing it to someone who's no longer earned it. Emotional access is a privilege, not a charity. And when you withdraw it calmly, you teach her that your presence was never for free. That lesson echoes far longer than any speech. From a Stoic view, rejection is not an insult, it's information. It tells you who to stop investing in. And silence is the response of a man who listens to that information and adjusts, without drama. You become untouchable not because you don't feel, but because you feel without reacting. That's the kind of power she can't forget. So the next time she rejects you but lingers around, say nothing, pull back, refocus, restrike. Let her feel the void your presence once filled. Let your silence be the closing line she never expected and can't stop rereading. Comment below, silence is my answer and my armor. Number 3, stop explaining yourself. The more you say, the less she feels. In moments of confusion or rejection, most men need to explain, to clarify why they didn't reply sooner, why they said what they said, or why they acted a certain way. They hope that words will fix what emotions have already damaged. But here's the truth, the more you explain, the less she feels. And the less she feels, the more you fade. Explanations seem noble, they're framed as honest, transparent, mature, but they often reek of desperation. They say, I care more about being understood than being respected, and in doing so you trade your strength for a moment of approval. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Your actions should speak so clearly that you never need to defend them. When a woman pulls away and you start sending paragraphs about how busy you are, how you didn't mean to upset her, how you've changed, you're not winning her back. You're giving her emotional dominance. You're saying, please validate me. But validation cannot be begged for. It must be felt through absence, not delivered through explanation. Let's flip the perspective. Think of a man who simply says, noted, or doesn't respond at all. A man who disappears without drama, who doesn't argue, plead, or prove. That man unsettles her. Not because he's cold, but because he respects himself enough not to perform. His silence forces her to reflect, not react. Here's the psychological hook. Women are drawn to what they can't fully grasp. When you explain every move, you kill the mystery. You remove the tension. But when you stay grounded, calm and brief, you create space for her to wonder, feel and lean in. The less you say, the more she listens internally. The more you justify, the less you're heard. This is Stoicism in motion. You do not beg to be seen. You become so centered that others have no choice but to notice your absence. You let go of the need to be understood, and in doing so, you become unforgettable. So pause the next time you're tempted to send that long message. Let her sit with her thoughts. Let her miss how you held space, not how you filled it with words. Let her ask the questions and give no answers. Comment below, my silence explains everything she needs to know. Number 4, when you stop chasing, she starts reflecting. There's a turning point in every man's life, when he stops chasing and starts observing, not out of bitterness, but out of understanding, not to punish, but to protect his peace. This moment, subtle but powerful, shifts everything. Many women are used to being pursued. Messages, attention, validation, it's the norm. And like anything given too often, it becomes noise. But when a man who used to chase suddenly grows quiet, it doesn't feel like rejection, it feels like absence. And absence whispers louder than words ever could. Most men are afraid to step back because they think distance means defeat, but it's the opposite. Distance is clarity. It allows her to hear her own thoughts without the static of your neediness. And here's where the psychology kicks in. The brain hates unfinished loops. When she no longer receives your energy, her mind starts to ask questions. Why did he stop? Was I wrong? What did I miss? And that curiosity is the seed of emotional pull. This isn't a game, it's balance. Pulling back purposefully gives her a rare gift, the space to feel your value. Because value isn't declared, it's felt in your absence. The man who stops chasing doesn't lose her. He gives her a mirror. And sometimes in that mirror she sees her games, the mixed signals, the control, the comfort of being pursued, and she realizes that she took something real for granted. Stoicism reminds us, you don't control her response, only your behavior. So when you stop reaching out, it isn't about manipulation, it's about honoring your time, about not begging to be chosen, about choosing yourself. Let her notice the silence. Let her feel the weight of your withdrawal. She'll return if there's substance in her interest, not because you begged, but because your absence created longing. If she doesn't, then she was never meant to stay. Ultimately, the man who wins is not the one who fights hardest. It's the one who walks away calmly, knowing that real connection doesn't require chasing, it requires clarity. Comment below, I stopped chasing, and that's when she looked back. Number 5. She reaches out when you're no longer available. There's an irony few men prepare for. The moment you emotionally check out is often when she finally checks in. Not when you chased, not when you explained, but when you became still. When your attention was no longer guaranteed, she felt it, not in her mind, but in her body. That subtle shift triggers something ancient, something instinctual, and suddenly she reaches out. Why does this happen? Because people don't crave what they have easy access to, they crave what they're about to lose. Your availability, once taken for granted, becomes noticeable in its absence. Your silence, once overlooked, becomes deafening when her ego no longer hears its favorite song. Your validation. Here's what most men get wrong. They think if they cut contact, she'll forget them. But that's not how emotional bonds work. You shift the power dynamic when you pull away, not in anger, but in acceptance. Not by force, not by manipulation, but by becoming unpredictable and in turn, unforgettable. It's not about ignoring her, it's about no longer rewarding confusion with attention. She feels the shift when she sends mixed signals and you step back instead of chasing answers. And if she truly valued you, even unconsciously, the fear of your indifference activates her response. This doesn't mean you act cold or cruel, it means you hold your frame. You answer, if you choose to, with brevity and calm. You don't try to reopen doors she closed. You don't remind her of what she lost. Your silence does that on its own. And if she reaches out, don't jump. Don't paw. Don't pretend the past didn't happen. Let her earn her way back into your presence, slowly, through consistency, not emotion. Stoicism teaches us that control begins with self. When you are no longer emotionally reactive, you become a mirror, not a pursuer, not a performer, a mirror, and what she sees in that mirror, the version of herself in your absence, might just be what brings her back. But here's the twist. You may no longer need her when she reaches out. Because in the space she left, you grew, you healed, you built. And maybe, just maybe, you realized you were never chasing her, you were chasing what you thought you needed from her. Now you need nothing, and that, paradoxically, is what makes her need you. Comment below. The moment I let go, she came back, but I had already moved on. Number 6. Stop explaining yourself. Let her wonder why you're so calm. Men often think that logic can fix attraction, that if they just explain themselves clearly, why they didn't text back, why they made that choice, why they feel the way they do, it will win her over. But here's the truth. Over-explaining doesn't build connection, it kills mystery, and mystery is what keeps her emotionally invested. Think about it. When a man explains too much, what is he really doing? He's seeking permission. He's hoping that if she understands, she'll approve. That if he fills in every blank, she'll stop pulling away. But the opposite happens. When she can read you too easily, she disengages, because there's nothing left to figure out, no tension, no space. Now compare that to a man who speaks less, but with purpose. He doesn't rush to defend himself. He doesn't justify his silence. He lets his actions speak. When she asks, "Why didn't you text me back?" he might smile and say, "I had things to handle." That's it, short, clean, solid. This kind of calmness isn't arrogance. It's discipline. It says, I am not here to be understood by everyone. I'm here to live aligned with my values. When a woman can't quite figure you out, when you're kind but not eager, attentive but not desperate, she leans in. Her curiosity grows. She replays your words, your tone, your pauses. And that curiosity becomes emotional attachment. Stoicism teaches us to guard our energy, to not offer our peace up for negotiation. When you stop explaining yourself, you're not being rude but valuing your presence. You're choosing to let her earn understanding instead of giving it away in hopes of acceptance. And here's the power. She starts questioning herself when she wonders why you're so calm. She reconsiders her actions, her words, her silence. Because your silence no longer feels like weakness, it feels like power. Remember, the man who doesn't explain isn't hiding. He's choosing peace over performance, choosing strength over validation. Let her wonder. Let her try to read your calm, because that's where the real attraction lives, in the unanswered space you leave behind. Number 7. Show her you have options, without saying a word. There's a reason why men who don't center their lives around one woman often become the most desired. It's not about playing games or making her jealous. It's about signaling value, quietly, confidently, and without desperation. When a man lives like he has options, he no longer waits to be chosen. He becomes the chooser. This is not about flaunting women or pretending to be a player. It's the opposite. A man who truly has options never needs to say it. It's in the way he carries himself, in the ease with which he moves through conversations, in the way he doesn't rush, doesn't beg, and never clings. That ease comes from knowing, I am enough. If she doesn't see it, someone else will. You become predictable when you're always available, always waiting, always reacting. She knows you'll respond. She knows you'll ask her out again. She knows you're emotionally invested even if she's not. That imbalance kills attraction. But the moment she senses that your attention is earned, not guaranteed, everything shifts. It looks like that you don't cancel plans with friends just because she's suddenly free. You don't drop everything when she calls. You keep moving, working, building, with or without her, and when she sees you interacting naturally with other women, not flirtatiously, just confidently, she begins to reassess your worth. It's not the presence of other women that triggers her attention, it's the realization that you are wanted, that your presence holds weight, that your silence could be someone else's conversation. From a Stoic lens, this is detachment in action. You're not driven by scarcity, you're not trying to manipulate her feelings, you're simply grounded in your value, and that value attracts effortlessly. You become the man who doesn't need, and that's the most magnetic man. And here's the twist. Once she senses she could lose you, that you are not hers by default, she'll lean in. Because nothing is more powerful than silent competition, the kind where no one is named, but everyone is felt. So, don't explain your value, don't announce your popularity, just live like you know you are valuable, and the world will respond accordingly. Comment below, I don't compete for attention, I command it by living fully. Number 8. Reclaim control by letting go of the chase. The final step in this strategy isn't about doing more, it's about doing less. It's about stepping away from the performance, the proving, the pursuit. Because true masculine energy isn't found in convincing someone to stay, it's found in walking away with grace when you know your worth. When a woman gives mixed signals, rejecting you then pulling you back in, she's not always being cruel. Sometimes she's confused, sometimes she's testing, but often she's simply unsure if you're the man who stands firm when denied access. The truth? Most men fail this test. They try harder, they become emotional, they think effort equals love. But chasing her after rejection doesn't win her back, it just places her higher in the power dynamic. That's where letting go becomes your greatest move, not as an act of revenge, not as manipulation, but as a declaration, I don't chase what runs from me. Letting go means you stop checking if she's seen your stories, you stop replying instantly, you stop rearranging your life around the possibility that she might come back. Instead, you return to yourself, to your mission, to the path that existed long before she arrived. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing is often when she starts remembering, not because you played a trick, but because she feels the weight of your absence. She realizes your attention wasn't free, it had value, and now it's gone. From the Stoic perspective, this is amor fati in action. Loving what is, accepting her decision, and honoring your response to it. You don't beg fate to change, you thank it for showing you the truth early. You don't crumble, you evolve. Letting go also opens doors, the kind you didn't see while clinging to the past. New women, new passions, new peace. Suddenly, the one who walked away no longer defines your story. She becomes a chapter, not the whole book. The man who reclaims control doesn't do it by overpowering others, he does it by mastering himself, by choosing silence over argument, presence over proving, direction over desperation. Ultimately, the most unforgettable men are not those who ran after someone who left. They are the ones who knew when to stay still and when to move on, and they moved forward. Comment below. I don't chase, I align, and I rise. Number 9. The stillness that creates the echo. There's a moment after silence where the world begins to echo your absence. That moment, for her, comes when she realizes you're no longer orbiting her gravitational pull. No more likes, no more texts, no more emotional energy flowing her way. Just quiet, just space. And in that space, her mind fills in the blanks. The average man rushes to fill silence. He texts when she's distant, he asks for clarity, he seeks reassurance, but the Stoic man does something far more powerful. He lets silence speak. He understands that withdrawal is not weakness, it's a deliberate redirection of energy inward. It's a message that says, I value my peace more than your confusion. That stillness becomes a mirror. Suddenly she sees what you added to her life through its absence. And if she had taken your presence for granted, now she feels its weight, the weight of a man who doesn't beg, who doesn't break, who doesn't broadcast his pain, but who transforms it. This is where your internal power multiplies. You use the stillness not to wait, but to work. You hit the gym, you launch that project, you reconnect with yourself, you become more of who you were meant to be. And as you rise, her mind will return to you, not because you chased, but because you vanished in strength, not silence in shame. This echoes the Stoic ideal of autarkia, self-sufficiency. The man who no longer needs to be heard in her world becomes louder in her thoughts. Because humans don't remember what's always there, they remember what disappears, especially when it was calm, stable, and quietly powerful. The irony is that by doing nothing, you've done everything. You've preserved your energy, you've honored your dignity, you've taken the one step most can't, stepping back with discipline instead of stepping forward with desperation. And if she comes back, you're no longer the same man. You're not waiting, you're evaluating. You're not proving, you're observing. Because stillness didn't just change how she sees you, it changed how you see yourself. So when in doubt, don't speak louder, don't text faster, don't act needier. Just pause. Let her feel the echo. Let the silence do what words never could. Comment below. My silence holds more weight than any explanation.